Hello friends, hello besties, hello enemies. Welcome to another episode of Read It Down. Read It Down is a series that I have on my channel where I'm trying to tackle my own TBR, whether that be my physical or digital TBR, because both of them are out of control. Ever since I started my channel, I have been adamant about trying to read the books that I own. Am I always successful at it? No, absolutely not. But I created this series about 3 years ago called Read It Down. In the 2 years that I did it previously, it looked very different. On previous episodes of Read It Down, I had friends and other booktubers send me videos picking books off of my physical TBR. They specifically had to pick things off of the physical books that I own. And I also had a mood read component to it because ultimately, in my heart of hearts, I am a mood reader. Although I like to call myself a moody reader, it's not so much that I'm in the mood for a genre, it's that if I have high anxiety, I'm not reaching for certain types of books, you know what I mean? However, in current day, Read It Down looks a little bit different. I now have these 2 jars, and one of these jars is a prompt jar, and it's full of prompts that I have created and my patrons have created. And then there is a booktuber jar, which has a bunch of booktubers in it that, again, I have either put in there or my patrons have put in there. And I picked 2 books based on what these jars have in store for me. But the one thing that remains the same is I get a mood read because moody reader. So this episode is all over the place because it started in the middle of my move and you see a little bit of that. And then we jump into like more present time where I'm reading fully moved into this house and we're just moving forward with the video. It took a long time for me to get through this episode because my life just generally has been very chaotic recently, but we got through it. We got through it, besties, because you're watching it right now.
She was doing fine and I was doing right, falling into daydreams of our lives. I tried my best to hide feelings deep inside, starstruck in those eyes.
Look who found her tiny mic. Me. So as you can tell, I'm in front of my new bookshelves. I'm in the new apartment. I'm actually going to be working on my bookshelf organization video, but I wanted to give y'all a little bit of a haul because I went to this bookshop. It's like a used bookshop because we've been trying to donate and sell a bunch of our books to different bookshops. We've kind of reached capacity with a few of the places that we normally donate to. So we found this used bookstore that's like an hour from us, and they take donations like every day. They take 3 boxes of donations every day if you wanted to. So we've donated a couple times, and every time we go in there, I do browse. There are some books that I totally would buy, but their prices can be a little bit expensive. So I don't really know how they do their pricing. But other times you can find really great deals. They also have like this dollar section that Jared has actually had a lot of luck with. Me, not so much, but that's just because, like, for whatever reason, used bookstores are not the best at finding fantasy and sci-fi. I don't know what that's about, but I have a very hard time finding fantasy and sci-fi that I'm actually interested in. So anyway, I wanted to give you a haul of the things that I got because I actually went a little wild this time around. And that's for 2 reasons. One, I'm chalking up to being in my kitty era from Spicy Cat Reads. I will link her down below. She's amazing. But one of the things she talks about all the time is buying physical media like DVDs and CDs because streaming services are so expensive. And I completely agree. I've actually been complaining about this because one of my favorite shows got taken off of a streaming service for a short time. So ever since then, I have been on the hunt to find those DVDs and I can't find them. I've only ever been able to find the last 2 seasons. I got them at Best Buy. Otherwise, I cannot find the first or the second season. I'm not even going to tell you the show because people are going to make fun of me. But anyway, so recently I finally finished The Vampire Diaries and I'm collecting them now. So I ended up getting I got the first season. So this is the first season, 3rd season, 2nd season, 4th season, and the 6th season. If I never find the 5th season, that's fine. That's fine with me. I also don't need the 7th or 8th season, but I'll probably collect them. I probably will end up collecting them. Otherwise, these are the only seasons that I will like actively rewatch, I'm sure, but I'll probably collect them all. I also got 2 other DVD sets. I got the first 2 seasons of True Blood. These were the only 2 that they had. This is another one where it's like, I'll probably end up collecting all of them, but I never watched past season 5 when I rewatch this, so I don't know if it's worth me collecting all the way to season 5. So yeah, I've decided that I'm going to start collecting some of my favorite TV shows on DVD. I have a DVD player, I might as well use it. And then I ended up getting 3 books. So I got Block Shot by Kennedy Ryan because, well, I am loving Kennedy Ryan right now. I read Real, absolutely loved it. I have started Long Shot. I'm liking it. It's dark, but that's kind of what I expected. So this is the second one in that series. Like I said, this was $12 and the original is $17. Oh, that's not as bad. I thought it was only $2 less than the original. So it's not terrible, but yeah, some of them are a little more expensive. And then I found Wash Day Diaries. I've been really, really wanting to read this, and this is in great condition. I'm so excited to read this one. And lastly, I got In Limbo, which this one was a little more expensive, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this one. This is a stunning debut graphic memoir that explores the intersection of mental health and the Korean American diaspora. I also really love this art style. I think it goes really well with the idea of being in limbo and mental health in general. So I'm very excited to get into this one. I haven't bought a graphic novel in a really long time. I also really, really enjoy First Second. They publish mostly YA graphic novels. Also, Tilly Walden, who I love, blurbed this and said In Limbo is a tour de force, stunning from the first page to the last and totally unforgettable. Yeah, so those were my finds. Currently, I wanted to actually update because I'm actually going to be starting this video with my mood read. I am reading First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and I'm really excited to be reading this one because B.K. Borison is one of those authors that has been a miss for me so far, but I am like 10% into this one, maybe, and I'm loving it. I love it. I think this is supposed to be like a Sleepless in Seattle type of book, but it actually feels very Gilmore Girl-esque to me. And while I have over time fallen out of love with Gilmore Girls, it will always be a comfort show to me. Like, I watched it to death. And I only think it's the last 4 years that I kind of stopped watching it. Every time I try to watch it, I just end up turning it off. The characters start to annoy me a little bit, especially Rory. That being said, it will still always be a favorite. It will still always be something that has a special place in my heart. But yeah, because Gilmore Girls has such a special place in my heart, this book like immediately resonated with me. The way that they banter with one another, the dialogue, the quickness, the quirkiness, everything about it, it just screams Gilmore Girls. So I feel like if you enjoy Gilmore Girls in any capacity, you're probably going to enjoy this book. The Sleepless in Seattle allegations, no idea. I have not watched Sleepless in Seattle, but I do want to watch it now after I finish this because I'm curious. So far in this book, we have Gus and Lucy. Is his name Gus? I feel like that's wrong, but that's what we're going to call him. Gus hosts a radio show, and on this radio show, they talk about love and give advice on relationships. But at the start of this book, he is falling out of love with the idea of love. He doesn't even know if he believes in love anymore. And he's having a hard time finding inspiration with this radio show because of his feelings about love currently. And then you have Lucy, and Lucy is a single mom, and she hasn't really been dating, and she is trying to find like that epic love. And her daughter feels like her mother is lonely, so she calls into the radio station asking for advice for her mom. Lucy ends up catching her on the phone. It's a very funny interaction. That first interaction is what kind of sucked me into the book. And she ends up talking to Gus, allegedly that's his name. And they have this full-on conversation about why she hasn't settled for someone because she wants this epic love. And it kind of inspires him again. And it also inspires the radio station to bring Lucy on to the show. And that's where I'm at, where Lucy is contemplating being on this show, like a co-host on this show. So I like the banter already. I like the character dynamics already. And I do love like a podcast radio show element into a book. So I'm really excited about this one because I think this could be the hit for me and BK Borison. I'm only 11 chapters into this and I've already cried. So our female main character, Lucy, like I said, her daughter calls into a radio show and she ends up going viral because of what she had to say about dating and just really wanting to find like that magical connection with someone. And so they end up asking her to be on this radio show. So they're doing this segment where Aden, not Gus, allegedly not Gus, where Aden asks her a bunch of questions about dating and what she's looking for in a first date, but also what she's looking for in love and romance. And they ask her, what is an ideal date for you? And she was like, I don't want anybody to make fun of me. And Aden's like, listen, no one's gonna make fun of you. Everyone is listening because they like how genuine you are. So she says that her ideal first date is a picnic, and he's kind of taken aback by it. And he's like, why would that be your ideal first date? And she says, because I would love to know that I'm worth it, that somebody would put the time and energy into something even as small as a picnic to let me know I'm worth it. Protect Lucy at all costs. Long time no see. The last time I saw you, I had just finished my mood read. Have I even talked to you about the mood read? I don't even think I talked to you about that. I had filmed so much less of this video than I thought that I did. I just really did not feel like picking up a camera at all in the middle of our move. So we're coming back to this episode of Read It Down a little chaotically. I actually have it right here. I loved this. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was gonna be a 5-star just because of how much I was enjoying it. I think I told you that it was giving me like those Gilmore Girls vibes. I really loved the banter, the quick-wittedness of the characters. There was just something in the end that prevented me from giving this a 5 stars. And it was mainly that while their relationship is very cute, there's a moment in this book where I started to question, like, why do they like each other? Like, I understand that they're in this proximity together and they like one another, and I like that they like one another, but by the end of it, the way that the relationship progresses and the way they get together, I just questioned a little bit how much of it felt like insta-lovey and how much of it felt like really organic to these characters and the situations they found themselves in. However, I had a really fun time with this, and it has redeemed BK Borison for me. Burger King Borison. She really redeemed herself with me because I have read Mixed Signals, I think, and I just absolutely did not like that book at all. I also have heard that like you do have to read the Love Light Farm series in order to have like any attachment to some of the other couples that pop up in that series, which is a choice because I do not like Christmas books. But yeah, I feel like if you like Gilmore Girls and apparently Sleepless in Seattle, I do remember now that this is supposed to be a Sleepless in Seattle inspired story. But isn't Sleepless in Seattle, no, that's You've Got Mail. I was gonna say, isn't that the email one? I'm guessing Sleepless in Seattle also has a radio show element to it, which is one of the stronger parts within this book. I really liked the radio show because Lucy starts to be a host on the radio show as well. And they do like a segment together trying to find her a relationship. And I really thought that that was fun. I do like a multimedia element a lot of the times to my books. Like, I don't want that all the time, but I really enjoy it when it does happen in a book. It does draw me to a book, which is why I really wanted to pick this up. And I highly recommend listening to this on audiobook. I liked both of the narrators a lot as well. But now we need to pick a prompt. This prompt jar is full of prompts that either I created or my patrons have submitted. As a matter of fact, if you want to add prompts to the prompt jar, please leave them down below and I will add them to the prompt jar. But yeah, these are all just reading prompts to help me pick another book off of my TBR. I feel like these never focus. Heads or tails, you pick one and Jared picks the other. And this is from Christina. So I guess I'm gonna pick a book and Jared's gonna pick a book and then I'm gonna flip a coin. Let me go do that.
That have like black water makes me think of things with tails in the water, so.
And there's a head on this? Cool, so heads, tails.
Do I do the thing?
Sure.
It's gonna go on the ground.
Okay.
You win.
I'm reading Blackwater Sister. So Blackwater Sister won the coin toss. I would have been happy with either choice. It was Immortal Longing and Blackwater Sister. I would have been happy with either choice. I've been thinking about reading these two recently. This one specifically because I recently read Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazang, and the premise of that slash some of the things that happen in that book reminded me of Blackwater Sister. I read maybe a quarter of this when it came out like 2 years ago, and then I just went into a really bad reading slump, which is like the story of my life, and I put it down. And I've always meant to get back to it because I liked the tone of it, I liked the humor, and I liked our main character. So I'm really looking forward to jumping back in, and hopefully I love this one as much as I think I'm going to.
I just wanna go out on a walk with you. Baby, you know I just like to talk with you. You don't have to tell me anything that's new. I just wanna go out on a walk with you. I just wanna see your shadow next to mine, sailing over pavement with our two outlines. I like to see the shape you're in from time to time. I just wanna see your shadow next to mine.
So I am officially 180 pages into Blackwater Sister. I am very much enjoying this. The only thing throwing me off is the pacing. I'm not really sure why it's the pacing though, and I'm wondering if maybe it's just the writing style, or I don't really know, but I'm having a hard time getting through this quickly, and it's not that I want to get through it quickly, but the content of this and like the story itself almost begs to be read quickly, but I'm taking a lot of time getting through it. I really like our main character. I like the plot. I just feel like I'm taking forever to get through this for whatever reason. In Blackwater Sister, we're following our main character named Jess, and she is not doing too hot. She graduated Harvard. She thought that she was going to be able to find a job, but it didn't really work out for her. She's really struggling, and her parents are really struggling. So in recent months, her father's health has been declining, and her parents make the really difficult decision to move back to Malaysia, and Jess decides that she's going to go with them because things are just not really working out for her. She also has a long distance girlfriend, and she is still in the closet. She hasn't come out to her parents. So beyond moving to a new country being scary, she's also scared that being in such close proximity to her parents day after day will out her, and she's not quite ready to come out to them yet. In the midst of this move, she starts hearing a voice in her head, and she kind of just thinks she's hearing things, that it's nothing. Turns out, by the time she gets to Malaysia, she figures out that it is her ama, or her grandma, and her grandmother had passed away recently. And it turns out her grandmother was a worshiper of this deity called the Black Water Sister, and the Black Water Sister is very unhappy with this very powerful man. Also turns out Jess is a medium. So Jess is now tasked with abiding by her ama and the Black Water Sister to take down this very powerful man. And it's just very funny. Like, the tone is extremely funny while also hitting a lot of emotional plot points, because obviously Jess is dealing with being in the closet, not knowing how to come out to her parents and being very scared to come out to her parents, having a long distance girlfriend who doesn't really know that she's in the closet and that her parents don't know about this relationship, feeling like a failure because she graduated Harvard but couldn't really find a job. And then obviously there's her father's health that's declining, but there's this other layer that Jess is dealing with regarding like the American dream and her parents having to come back to Malaysia. And she says, the sudden disturbing thought came to her. They've done it. They did it in the end. After years of insults, small and large, misunderstanding his accent, underrating his abilities, dangling opportunities in front of him only to snatch them away, America has finally beaten him. Jess smothered the thought. Dad was only in his 50s. Asia was rising. The move to Malaysia wasn't a failure for Jess or her parents. So she's obviously dealing a lot with her own failures and also trying not to view what's happening with her parents as a failure. And then she's hearing this voice in her head. And I actually really love this because Jess is so scared to move to Malaysia, and obviously the failure aspect has to do with that. But the more that her ama is in her head, and the more that she's learning about her ama, and the more she's learning about Malaysia, and the more she's learning about her parents and her family that she didn't really get to grow up around, the more she's starting to realize that maybe America wasn't all it was cracked up to be for her and her family, and that she missed out on more than the opportunities that were supposedly allotted to them in America. And I really just love the way that she's transforming her way of thinking about failure and the way she's thinking about her family and the way she's growing closer to her family. The other funny thing about her grandmother being in her head is that there is this language barrier for the most part, because Jess is not as proficient at Hokkien as her grandmother obviously is, but because of her grandmother being in her head, and because her grandmother does have the ability to sort of possess Jess's body, especially when Jess is asleep or not super coherent, she's starting to get better at the language, and the language barrier is starting to lessen. And Jess like subtly notices it one day, and she's like, wait a second. I understood what these men were saying. How did I understand these men? Also, the interactions between Jess and her ama are just so funny to me. There's also something a little bit off for Jess regarding the Blackwater Sister and her being the medium that needs to take down this man. She's feeling a little weird about it. She's feeling a little bit off. And I'm really interested to see what that means. Like, why is that something that seems like a red flag for her? I just want to know where that's gonna go. But otherwise, I'm having a really fun time. I love the writing. I'm really liking the storyline. I like the tone so much because there is that good combination of being really serious and having its really serious moments, but also it's just funny and it's lighthearted, and it's very much kind of coming of age situation of somebody trying to find themselves, but also having this identity crisis because she's grown up in America, but America has never like accepted her or her family. And so she's discovering this new identity that she has and feeling like she doesn't really fit in places, on top of being lesbian and not feeling like that's going to be acceptable for her family. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that wraps up, because I feel, based on the tone of this book, that we're going to have a nice conclusion and this nice like wrap up where her family maybe doesn't fully understand her, but like they come to an understanding because they love each other and they're just trying to do their best for each other. You know what I mean? I hope that's how it goes. Maybe my issue with the pacing is that I'm 180 pages in and I feel like so much has already happened and we still have a lot more left than I thought that we did. Maybe that's my issue. I don't really know, but I am having a very good time. My skin is going through it. I have been using some tretinoin. I started using tretinoin. I've been a retinol girly for like 10 years, but I started using tretinoin, which is much stronger. And this morning my chin was peeling. And it's common that you have dryness and you might have peeling, but I'm probably gonna have to like slow down on how many times a week that I'm using it, because I can't be waking up to my skin peeling off. Also, I'm gonna be awkwardly looking at myself or looking at the camera. I don't really know what feels right, what feels natural. I'm taking you along on my skincare journey today because I want to talk to you about Blackwater Sister. I finally finished it and I need to do my skincare. We're going on the skincare journey together, friends. So I finished Blackwater Sister last night and I ended up really, really loving it. I wish that I could say this was a 5 stars, but like I said, my pacing issue, which I still can't put my finger on, persisted. I still think that the pacing issue was just the fact that like 180 pages in, so much had happened and I felt like we were leading up to the conclusion so early on in the book, and then the book kept going, which some would say is extremely fast paced. But then the latter half of the book started to slow down and we were lulling a little bit because it was more family driven. We're also seeing bits and pieces of her and her girlfriend's relationship, because at this current moment they're in a long distance relationship and they don't get to talk to each other as often as they probably would like to, and it's especially not as often because Jess is afraid of being outed. Her girlfriend also doesn't know that Jess hasn't told her family, so that's like a whole conflict within Jess in and of itself. And so there's a lot of like family dynamics, there's a lot of relationship dynamics, and ultimately it is a coming of age story. And I really, really enjoyed that, because I often think of coming of age stories as like people in their teen years, but Jess is a 20-something-year-old having just graduated college, trying to figure out her life. And I think that because that's something that has happened much more recently in my life, it's very, very relatable to me. And it's not that high school books aren't relatable to me. I actually unfortunately remember high school with devastating clarity. I just don't actually get to see or read a lot of books outside of romance, I guess, that are 20-somethings that are coming of age, having graduated college, etc., etc. Because a lot of the romance that I read, while it is in ways coming of age, they're still in college a lot of the times, or they're well out of college. Like, they're a single parent, you know what I mean? So this book surprised me in so many ways, and the tone continued to be like one of my favorite things about the book. But the familial bonds and the way that they resolve their issues and like go about their issues with each other, I don't know, I really loved it. And I really loved Jess coming into her own identity, but also kind of moving on from these things that were holding her back at the very beginning of the book, and reclaiming parts of her identity that she felt were lost. And I really, really loved her relationship with her parents in the end. I really like a lot of the extended family members in this book too, because we do, once we get to Malaysia, we do get to spend a lot of time with them. And I just love how funny everyone is. All of the interactions, it reminds me of growing up. Like, I don't have a ton of my family around anymore, but growing up, like, I just remember one of the meeting places of my family was like going into someone's bedroom and just laying around on the bed and like sitting on the floor and talking. No one could just be normal and do it around a dinner table or in the living room. They were like, oh, let's congregate to a bedroom and be in each other's business. I think it was really good timing to be reading this book as well, because I was reading it alongside doing the Weird Girl vlog. And I was off to visit my sister, and that's something we do too, is just follow each other from room to room talking and like catching up. And I don't know, it felt very familiar to me, even though like culturally it was very different. It just felt so familiar to me, and it was like a warm hug. And it definitely has that like fun, uplifting, positive vibe to this book, even with the difficult conversations and difficult plot points that happen. So I ended up really, really loving this one. I feel like y'all all know what I'm about to say. Apply your sunscreen. For the love of God, apply the sunscreen. Anyway, I'm definitely keeping this book. I feel like I would revisit it time and time again. Also, Zencho recently released, is it recent? I don't know. I just saw it in the bookstore, and it is a romance. Hello, I want to read that. This also made me very excited to pick up Zencho's backlist, because they actually have, I don't want to say extensive because I actually can't remember how many books are in their backlist, but they do have a fantasy series, I believe, that I was really interested in, and now I'm definitely going to be picking that up. I just got back from traveling and I woke up this morning with a sore throat. So it's only downhill from here, but I want to read. Like, I'm very much in the mood to read, because while I was gone, I didn't really read as much as I wanted to, and I was on a roll. And I had said May was my Delulu month where I was just gonna read. And I was doing that. I was reading regularly and I was having fun with everything that I was reading. And then it all just came to a halt because I traveled. So I want to get back into that. And the first thing that I thought of was, I think it's time to pick the booktuber, which will lead me to a new book to read. And I'm really excited to see who we actually pick, because I don't remember everyone who's in the jar. Like, I have a vague idea of everyone who's in the jar, but I hope that we pick somebody today that I don't like know really, because I would love to discover a new channel. Okay, this is the booktuber jar, as you can see by my professional title of booktuber. You probably can't see that, it's probably not focused. Much like the prompts, these were selected by my patrons, some by me, and if you want to give me more booktubers that you would like to add to this jar, feel free. Hopefully it's not upside down. Who is it? Sash! This is Sash Reads. I love Sash. Okay, Sash is a smaller booktuber who reads a lot of romance and fantasy romance, and I think that she really likes horror as well, but I love Sash. Sash is in my Patreon, so funny, love her content, so I'm really excited. Really excited! This is also super fun because I feel like this is gonna be a shift. Well, no, it's not. I'm realizing that I've taken forever to do this read it down, so I did read a contemporary romance in this already, which is not exactly what I've been reading more recently in general. So it will be a shift in my reading for me personally, but not necessarily for this video. But I was gonna say that it'll be a shift in reading because this potentially is gonna get me a contemporary romance, but also possibly a fantasy romance or a monster romance. Okay, so I'm on Sash's channel. Like I said, Sash reads romance, monster romance, romantasy, horror. She reads a lot of the same things that I really love. She also does a ton of vlogs if you're looking for a vlogger. She does tags, she does readathons, she has a thick thighs readathon. I really, really love this readathon. Every time it comes around, I try to participate, whether I'm vlogging a video or not. I do try to participate. I really enjoy this readathon. This is actually really funny because the first video is Unhinged Mothers. So this is not at all going away from the vibe that I have been living in for the past month. Nevertheless, I'm clicking this one and let's see if I own anything in here that I haven't read. I think this is the first time in this new edition of Read It Down that the first book the person talks about is a book that I have on my TBR that I own and I have not read, which is Night Bitch. What's hilarious is the cover is in the thumbnail, but I didn't recognize the cover because I have this one. I'll grab it. Because I have this version, which I recently read Organ Meats. And that was another book where women thought that they were turning into dogs. So it's funny that I'm reading these so close together because I literally read Organ Meats like 1 book ago. This is also perfect because you may have just watched my Weird Girl Fiction vlog. That should be going out before this video. And I was contemplating reading this one. I don't know if I actually said that in the video, but I was contemplating picking this one up because I've had it on my TBR for a while now. And I felt like it would have been perfect for that video, but I ended up picking up other things. But Sash, please take it away and tell us what this book is about.
This is about a woman who, she's a stay-at-home mum of a 2-year-old, and she's gone crazy. She thinks she might be turning into a dog, which sounds super interesting, and I can definitely relate to that. Not turning into a dog, but going crazy being a stay-at-home mum.
Where did the time go? How do we move so far away? Oh.
I'm not fully enjoying Night Bitch right now. I'm not really enjoying it. So Night Bitch is really visceral. It's a very visceral read, which is great. I love that feeling. I've talked about that before when reading weird girl fiction, when reading weird horror and fictions. I love to feel the feeling of being uncomfortable, the feeling of it being weird and visceral, for sure. This, though, isn't completely working for me. I don't really know if it's because of the writing. In some instances, this is in second person where she's addressing the you, and in other instances, she is talking to the mother. She says the mother is doing X, Y, and Z. The mother is taking her son to the park, which is very effective for the plot of this story, or the point, the message of this story, because we are following a woman who's slowly losing her identity by being a mother. She's losing herself to motherhood. She's talking about how she's losing her ability to think critically, and she craves just reading a book and being intellectual and doing art, but instead she has to take care of her child and play these mindless games and go to the park all of the time. And it's really showcasing the monotony that this woman is feeling with her everyday routines of being a mother and taking care of her son. I also think it's very interesting because the beginning of this book, she wakes up and she feels different. She finds this patch of hair on the back of her neck and she immediately believes that she's turning into a dog. And I think that's supposed to be like this transformation, almost like a werewolf, into this mother, right? She's transitioning into this new being, into this new person that she doesn't recognize. And it feels very monstrous for her because it's the tearing down of all of these things that she's so used to having in her life. And it's all very interesting and it's all very visceral, but for whatever reason, like the more I read it, the less and less I like it. It also feels so bleak. Do I want to raise a child? No, I don't. It's just not my calling, you know? It's not my calling in life. But I also think that mothers are like the strongest soldiers. I think parents in general that step up and be a parent are the strongest soldiers, but I especially think that if you are experiencing motherhood, it's a different beast because there's a lot of responsibility placed on femme presenting people in general in society, but especially those stepping up to be in a mother role. There's a lot placed on them. And so I always think that, like, while motherhood is not for everyone, those who are choosing to do it and trying to do it like strongest soldiers, I'm so proud of you. I can't even imagine. So yeah, I'm not having the best time. I think I'm gonna give it a little bit longer before I choose whether or not to DNF. I am curious. I didn't really get to watch the rest of Sasha's review of it because I wanted to go in kind of without any expectations of this book, but I am curious now to go back and see what she felt about it, especially as someone who is a mother. But yeah, this might be a DNF. Hello friends. So I did officially DNF Night Bitch, and it's actually not fully for a lack of like enjoying this book, or enjoying. That's not really the word that I'm looking for. It's not that this is a bad book. I think that this is going to hit for so many people. I actually understand why somebody would give this 5 stars. I understand the appeal of this book, and I understand what this book is doing. For me, I think it's coming from a place of like the way it's making me feel, the visceral reactions I'm having. I'm not really connecting with the writing that well, and I just think that I'm not in the mindset for this book. I've been having a pretty rough go of it for a few months now, like mentally, and I just think that this isn't like sitting well with me in that way. And I have promised myself this year that whenever a book does that to me, I have to just like let the book go, because last year I forced myself through some books that like triggered me a lot, and I don't want to do that anymore. There's really no point to doing that, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna force myself through this book. However, I'm hesitant to get rid of this one simply because I keep telling myself, like, what if I'm in a good mental health space and I pick this up and I absolutely love it? But that's not the vibe. I also have the audiobook, so it doesn't really matter if I have this physical copy or not. But if you were curious, I did end up DNFing at page 132 because there's not really chapters in here. So there is a page break, and I ended up DNFing around that point. And I see the appeal, I'm just not vibing. The story is very interesting, and I really love the metaphor of motherhood transforming you, but also just like wanting to hold on to the semblance of your identity, all of the things that you enjoyed pre-motherhood and the things that you now are forced to enjoy post-motherhood, and like the relationships that sometimes are forced because 2 people have kids and so they become friends even though they may have nothing in common otherwise. And I also think the way that it was written is a very interesting take on this journey that our character is going through. It made me feel such a range of emotions, especially in like my own decision about being a mother or not being a mother, my own experience with my mother and her mother, because my mom's mom practically raised me. And like one of the things that I do a lot in life, especially because my mom is not alive, I think a lot about her going through life in her 30s with children. I think about that a lot. Was she equipped to be a mother? Is anyone equipped to be a mother? I don't know. I think about these things all the time, especially because our relationship wasn't the best, but I was very, very close with my grandma, and like that was my ride or die. That was my woman. So it's just interesting to read a book like this and the range of emotions that it made me feel. And that's why I say I don't think that this is a bad book, and I see the appeal. It's just, I have anxiety. Sash, I loved your review of this, and again, it reaffirmed for me why people would love this book. So I think you should check out Sasha's channel just in general because I love her, but also because she has great reviews and I love her insight on the different books that she reads. We read very similarly, but also different at the same time, and I really enjoy watching people that have a range of taste that like sometimes I have no interest in those books, but I love hearing them gush about them, or even hate. Like that also informs me of things that I might like, or like why I may not pick up a book. So please go check out Sash. I will have it linked below. I absolutely adore her vibes. She does a lot of reading vlogs, but like I said, really fun readathons as well that you should take part in, because I love a little community get together. I am going to be unhauling this one, even though I was going back and forth about whether or not I wanted to unhaul it, because what if I'm in the right mindset for this one day? I don't need to keep it on my shelf. I do have the audiobook if I do want to return to this at some point. I know we kind of already went over this, but to reiterate, I'm keeping Blackwater Sister. I really enjoyed this one. It had its flaws, but I could definitely see myself revisiting this story. I just loved the tone so much, and our characters were funny and fun and endearing. I really loved it. And then obviously I'm keeping First Time Caller because I did have such a fun time with this. Despite some of my issues with this book, I really had fun, and I think BK Borson redeemed herself in my eyes. I think that's a pretty good ratio. 1 unhaul, 2 keeps. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But I am glad that we have finally made it to the end of this video, because I have been filming this for far too long. So if you've made it to the end of the video and you have nothing else to say, feel free to leave a wolf emoji down below, and I will talk to y'all next time. Bye, friends.